So, he taught me a song in Italian. Taught me Seven Crudele.
One of those
And
26 hits, baby.
the 26 hits. And I got in, which was super dope, super excited. My first day, my dad wanted me to dress up, like he had bought me a shirt and some like khakis, whatever. But I'm a kid from the hood, like I'm not wearing that, like what I'm saying. So he was mad. I came downstairs. Uh, I went up, and he was like, "Go change." So I did that. I was like, "I'm just going to stay up there, wait for the bus. I'm not changing. Fuck this shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not wearing like."
Not wearing this.
When I came down, he was waiting for me the whole time. I came
Yeah.
down saying I wasn't unchanged. He punched me in the mouth, punched me right in the mouth, and I went to government school my first day, bloodied up. My first day at government school, and I cleaned it up, but like that was just kind of like what I was going through,
Yeah.
the kind of stuff I was going through every day.
That people who choose to do this, who choose to make storytelling their life, often have dealt with trauma in their own life, you know, and we're all experiencing a lot of trauma right now. But as is the case, a lot of times when you're having these discussions and character development and stuff, and for folks that don't know, Josh is covering me in Kaiser, and unlike a lot of situations where you go into a professional situation where the covers are sort of seen and not heard, which
Yeah,
I've always thought, these guys, they're often like a decade younger, and their perspective is pretty valuable, especially when we're like, let's try to be relevant.
for sure.
And so, what's cool about what Tomer and sort of the ethos of the whole program is that we're an ensemble, and we're all working together, and there's not a real hierarchy. We're all just sort of tossing our ideas in. And whenever you're developing a character, and you use that Venn diagram between yourself and the character, and whatever is in common, and or sometimes you have to create those things, but in that sort of process, you were talking about some of the challenges you've had to overcome in your life. And I really was inspired by sort of the frankness with which you talked about that. And I was hoping that maybe we could talk about some of that today and some of those challenges that you overcame and how you did that and who are some of the folks that actually helped you through these times. And, I don't want to get too personal. Anything you're not
Yeah,
comfortable talking about, of course, don't talk about it. But
yeah,
I'd love to just, I know that there are a lot of folks in our business that deal with unresolved trauma. I myself have had a history that I had to sort of come to terms with in my mid 30s, and it took sort of coming to that terms with that to allow me to sort of grow into a different person and a different artist. So I wonder if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about your journey
yeah,
into the opera world.
absolutely. So, first, just like simply just talking about your trauma is a step, that I had to take in order to get rid of some of those demons that were crawling inside of me as I become an adult, and as I still learning more about myself and every day. So like that journey for me with some counseling, and especially in the Black community, how taboo that is, um, and the relationship I have with my parents, and actually telling like my parents that I did seek out help. It's like hard for them to hear, a lot of, church-based stuff, go to church, speak to God,
Mm-hmm.
so that step for me was a big step when I started doing that frequently about, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, but I come from, I'm from New York originally. I grew up mostly in the shelter system all throughout New York City. So I started, I think I want to say around like first grade was when we got kicked out of our apartment. Um, we moved into the shelter system in the Bronx for a few days, where we sleep on the floor before they send you to another shelter. So it's like a kind of like a holding area.
Yeah.
So I moved around a lot. We was in a shelter system for 3 to 4 years before the city, New York City, will give you and your family, depending on the size, a place to stay.
Wow.
And then they help you. They subsidize you. So um, we finally got moved to Jamaica, Queens when I was in the fourth grade.
Hmm.
fourth, fifth grade. They gave us a house. So the first time, like we had like a house, 3 bedroom house, 2 stories, like, so that was like really, really cool. And then, they subsidized. So then my parents didn't have to pay a lot in rent, something like $100, $50, not very much for this place in Queens. And then eventually, my parents not be able to pay like the water bill, or we had to move out again. And because of that, my parents were drug addicts, and they grew up in the '80s, and they were victims of the crack epidemic.
Yeah.
And that's a demon, and that's a monkey on their backs. That was hard for them to overcome, especially with 5 kids. And so we moved around a lot. And then my grandmother in Virginia, after like staying with my grandmother in New York City, my parents, constantly trying to get away from drug dealers at our home, wanting their money, getting their crack on, whatever, however they did that and weren't paying. We had to move to Virginia, went back into the shelter system before, we got a little place where that was subsidized, Section 8. And as I became older, I became more angry of a kid. So I always like to sing. So I started a group, but I started to skip school a lot and started to rob a lot
Wow.
too. So me and my best friend, we would go, like, we would skip school, like go steal some stuff and then go to choir, then go to choir and sell a lot of stuff that we stole from like Walmart, Target, stuff like
That
that.
is,
I've always been a big guy, like, so like I kind of sprout really fast and then stop. So sixth, seventh grade, I was already 6'2",
yeah,
6'1".
yeah,
I stopped, like, I thought I was gonna be like a huge basketball player or something like
yeah.
that, but I kind of stopped. So by the time I was ninth grade, I looked like an adult. So I was walking around, they thought, I was just a
Just a
grown man
just a guy
walking in
getting
the
his
park,
getting his groceries.
yeah. Um,
I never
so
would. I mean, that's that. I mean, I never would think of the choir kids as the tough guys, but I
yeah,
guess that's just a different
right,
school.
right.
Like we were such dorks. We
Yeah,
would never have.
I know. And and then doing that, trying to play sports still, and then failing classes,
Yeah,
and then dealing with what I had to deal with at home. I was missing too many days of school. Then it's funny because I was skipping a lot of U.S. history, but now, like, as an adult, like, I love history.
right.
Very, very weird, how life works. But I was flunking out of school my freshman year. I have a .9 GPA.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's that bad. I'm talking about
Yeah.
like D Fs. Like, not because I wasn't smart. I mean, I have I have three
Obviously.
degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, it's
You
not
know,
that.
but I just, I was like, no, nobody cares about me. So, fuck the system,
Yeah.
fuck it all. But, I started singing a lot in choir. I started a boy band. I was doing that, like going around singing,
Singing to the
for,
girls. Come on, singing to the
yeah,
girls. That's what you were doing. I mean, that's what
so
I did
like,
too.
my boy actually, who actually got me into opera, who lives in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I get to see him. Who got me started in opera, was a part of my boy band, and he's the one he was very, very musical, played instruments, stuff like that. My teacher in middle school had told him, because I was interested in sports. I'm a sports. Yeah, I love sports. I love it now to this day. But she, convinced him to do this program called the Conyers School for the Arts. Freshman year, while I was doing sports, he was doing that.
Hmm.
And he just told me, he was like, "Man, we don't get to hang out anymore. There's a lot of cute girls. Like, let me teach you a song. Like, you got to audition. Like, like, you won't be able even to play because your GPA is so bad. You're not gonna be able to play next year." So I was like, "Shit. Okay, well, maybe let me try this school." So he taught me a song in Italian. He taught me Seven Crudele, Um,
One of those
and
26 hits, baby.
the 26 hits.
Yeah.
And I got in, which was super dope, super excited. My first day, my dad wanted me to dress up, like he had bought me a shirt and some like khakis, whatever. But I'm a kid from the hood, like I'm not wearing that, like you know what I'm saying. So he was mad. I came downstairs. Uh, I went up, and he was like, "Go change." So I did that. I was like, "I'm just going to stay up there, wait for the bus. I'm not changing. Fuck this shit. Like, I'm not wearing like."
I'm not wearing this.
Uh,
My name's
but
not Bryce. I'm not wearing this.
first day, but when I came down, he was waiting for me the whole time. I came
Yeah.
down, saying I wasn't unchanged. He punched me in the mouth, punched me right in the mouth, and I went to government school my first day, bloodied up. My first day of government school, and I mean I cleaned it up, but like that was just kind of like what I was going through,
Yeah.
the kind of stuff I was going through every day
I mean,
with him. That's
that's
how
a
that's
that's a
how.
serious. I mean, and I don't want to like just skip through that because I mean, you know, that's the thing between fathers and sons that a lot of guys that I know have that sort of story
Yeah.
where they have gotten a physical altercation with their father.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had that.
Yeah.
My dad was very mild. I mean, he had a temper and I had a temper, but we never got to that point.
Yeah.
And it's always been something that always grieved my heart when I hear that, because when I know that as a kid you put so much trust in your parents and your father, and to see that, to actually be on the receiving end of something so violent at an inflection point in your life where you were actually trying to go a different way, that must have
Yeah.
been really hard, man.
It was, and it took a lot of healing to get to where me and my father are today. Which we talk and you think about this the cycles
Yeah.
of abuse. He was doing what he knew because that's what he saw.
Yeah.
And you kids, you don't talk back. You do don't, if you do, there are certain physical consequences that went with that. And um, it's unfortunate that that was the way things were back then, and we just know now better that it's just not the way.
Right.
Um, but me and my father's been through a lot. I mean, they did drugs, but he was an abuser too to my mom. They abused each other. He beat her up a lot too, and that caused a lot of trauma for us too. Seeing that every day,
Yeah.
uh, and that got to a boiling point too. As I became older, I became a senior. Now I'm doing better in life. My grades are up, and I kind of go in and out of the house more often because I'm like in rehearsals now. I'm in the swing of things. I'm an opera singer now after
Yeah.
doing that, and it me and my dad, as I'm becoming a man, seeing that kind of abuse was going to no longer be acceptable. Now that, especially now that I'm 6'3" and 300
Yeah.
pounds,
That's not gonna happen anymore.
and seeing that happen to my mom,
Yeah.
and so like things like that boiled over, me stopping him from, trying to abuse my mom, and like him, like now knowing that like he can't physically beat me, like him hitting me with a bat,
Wow.
and breaking my arm,
Yeah.
and he dealt with that. He got, my mom begged me not to testify, and I didn't. But in the state of Virginia, as a minor, um, they took over the case, and he got charged.
Yeah.
But he was doing weekends because he was still the only one working and paying the bills and stuff like that. And my dad was a very hard worker. He couldn't hold down a job, but he did whatever he could to try his best to take care of us. And he was a very, very hard worker, and
Yeah.
he did his best. But he did his time
Yeah.
for the abuse. And I didn't testify, but he did get 2 years, and he did. 8 months on weekends, something like that. And he got his 2 years suspended for behavior. Plus, he was doing time while the trial was happening. Uh,
It's a long road,
it is.
Joshua, to go from such a violent
Yeah,
relationship to come to some sort of sense of reconciliation.
sure.
How
And
did you manage
yeah,
to do that? I know that a lot of people would have a very difficult time,
yeah.
saying I love you and embracing your father after that.
For sure. The boiling point for me was I was what made me go seek help was I started dating full time, having struggling with my relationship, volatile, and it getting to a point where I was getting so angry that I wanted to now fight a girl that of course, that I could, I could hurt,
Hmm.
and asking myself why, even though like that didn't happen, I didn't, hurt her or harm her, and no matter what she was doing to me, I still had those feelings of like, if I hit her, she'll stop,
Yeah.
you know And once I had that thought in my head, I knew that the pattern had to stop.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, did she hit me? Yes, she hit me. Was she breaking my stuff? Yes, she was. But once I decided to go there, it's all over for me. It's it. That's it. I'm done. Everything that I worked for, everything I've done, it's
Hmm.
over. It's done with. I have to figure out how to check my anger at the door. And
That's
I think I was 20 at the time, and just like getting out of volatile situations. Why do I keep putting myself in these situations?
mhm.
Dealing with the people that I'm dealing with. Why am I angry all the time still, even though I'm doing something that I love? And I had to go
Amen to
seek
that.
help. And I had to go seek help, and I did that.
Yeah.
And I did that for a few years. And I recommend it. I probably need to go back. I mean, I have a lovely wife now who is absolutely amazing. And oh my gosh, the way she's taught me to be even a better human, even now, it's incredible. I don't even know how I'd even deserve to have a beautiful partner. But it saved my life. But also the people in my life. I mean, I had in high school, I had Robert Brown and Alan Robert Brown, rest his soul, who's passed, was my
Yeah.
voice first teacher.
We've I had a Will Liverman
Oh yeah,
and
uh-huh. We went to high school together. So
I've heard all the all the stories about the governor's school, and it sounds
yeah,
like just an incredible place for
I
folks who've
mean, that
had
man,
some
he knew,
issues.
he knew, like he helped me pay my family pay for a light bill,
Hmm.
a water bill, and he bought my dinner every night until he was like, I'm sick of you. He was like, I'm too old to be paying your dinner. And he gave me a job. He
Yeah.
gave me a job at a Unitarian church so that I can be paying for my food because he knew my situation at home. And he did that for me. And then I got to college and had a wonderful team who I love to this day, who still supports me, take care of me today. Stephen Lacoste, Melon Taylor, James Alberton, Angela Ward. These people, Stephen Lacoste, who is like my father. He's now the director of the A.J. Fletcher Opera Institute. Um, he in North Carolina School of the Arts. This man knew I didn't have places to go
Yeah.
for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and this man taught me how to be a man. He he was hard on me. He made sure I did. He believed in me,
Yeah.
and Christmas he would go to Indiana, and sometimes he'd let me stay at his place. He would leave me gifts under the tree, buy me a tree, because that I never really had a tree growing up either. And every year, I was there.
Yeah.
And he would leave a present under the tree
Wow.
for me. I mean, these are the kind of, I mean, I was so for people who have been in situations like mine are not, afforded opportunities like the opportunities I got. I'm very grateful. And I had people in my life who really looked after me and saw the potential in me and saw that I could be special, something different, something better. And I was very fortunate to have these people in my life after everything I was going through as a teenager, as a child, as a young adult. I was extremely fortunate, and that's why I'm very optimistic. You know, my wife says, you know, I don't know how you do it sometimes, like your outlook on life. And I said, I've been through a lot, and I always tell people, don't compare what you've been through to what other people been through. I know people who've been had it way worse than I did,
Yeah.
and and they're struggling, and they're not, and whatever you've been through, you could be fighting with your mom all the time in that relationship, and maybe that's something that's happened, but that's your trial and, tribulation, and like that deserves its own space and its own recognition too.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been through my journey, and I've had wonderful people to assist me on my journey, and I'm fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to a place where I can sit with my dad and my mom and talk to them and see that they're doing better. My dad just got like his dream job after, he's 50 something years old.
Mm-hmm.
And, just sitting with him and, he's saying like, I wish I could have did this when I, had all five of you. He's a super working, has a 3-bedroom house that he doesn't have to, that he doesn't have to pay for, apartment.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to pay for, and working. And now they also have another apartment in New York City. And he's just like, and, just now, as all his kids, all of their children are adults, and we look back and we've been through it. And, one thing I can say, my parents were very serious about school. And so that's what I, I can take that,
I mean,
they, they didn't
in the midst of all that
that,
addiction and everything else, they understood that that was the way out.
well, and they understood that they did not want us in streets.
Yeah.
So anytime they saw us hanging, like my parents were not having that. And so like I can value those lessons. Out of everything I've been through, I can still take those lessons and go, you know what, my parents did do that. Because there are a lot of kids who are fortunate who their parents just kind of let them do whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And my parents were very, very aware and focused on us doing well in school and doing well outside of school,
Yeah.
and being respectable kids. I might have been rowdy and crazy in the house, but I, we were always very respectable. Me and my siblings, my brothers, my sister,
I
always
mean,
very, very respectable.
just in my conversations with you, just here and there, like online or through texting or whatever, I've been struck by your emotional maturity. I sort of respect it because I sometimes see in you some of a lot of the things that I lack, and for someone at the age of 20 to recognize a pattern and have that emotional maturity to be able to say, not, there's no instant cure for any of this stuff. And understanding that at 20 that I've got to start the work that will continue for the rest of my life. That requires a tremendous amount of character, a tremendous amount of will. And for me, that's, when you want to change your reality, which I've done a few times in my life, just totally flip the script, It takes opportunity, but it takes will. A tremendous amount of will. And I'm just totally impressed by the fact that those two things came to a confluence at that point in your life. And it seems like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like, not just opera, but the classical music, the music community, the performing community was a bit of a lifeline. And I know that like a lot of us out there, when we have, when we lack certain things in our family, support, security, whatever, all those things that may be missing in our family and our community, we often find them in the performing arts. That sort of acceptance, that sort of new family, if you will. And I find that there are a lot of stories like this in our group because we're often, we often find a new family, a new type of family. My friend, Jamie Barton's a friend of mine, and she has her biological family and her logical family.
Yeah.
But they're all family.
That's right.
And is that, I mean, I feel like that, I mean, what I'm hearing from you is very similar to that. Like you were able to find this extended artistic family that were able to help you grow into this incredible man that you are now. And I'm
Yeah.
not blowing smoke up your ass. I
No,
really
no,
think you're an
no, no,
amazing
you're
guy.
not. I would say music saved my life.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine what, like, if I didn't have that route of, oh, I can go to college
Hmm.
and do this.
Yeah, me too. I was
You
there
know,
too.
oh, I can do that. That's a route for me. And though, in those layers and those people like these caring figures, people who like want to, enrich my life through music at every step of the way, and still till this day. Um, this thing that we do, this thing called music, these classical arts, are filled with what I would just call family. They're just my family. And
You definitely understand the kind of commitment. You
oh
know,
yeah,
this commitment that we, and I can see it in you, Josh. Like I can see it in this commitment to this art form, and this absolute tenacious. I will not let go of this thing,
yeah,
not because it's mine, but because it has given me so much in my
yeah,
life that I need to be able to get to a point where I can then take that thing that it's given me and then pass it on to other people.
absolutely. And that's what I do. And so, like, but during COVID, we talk about injustices in our art form.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am a strong advocate of making sure that the people behind me are having even better opportunities, better chances than I ever did.
Yeah.
And I want to be a voice that leads a path for people who look like me, and also especially for people who look like me to be more people of my situation, more people who look like me into this field.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell everybody all the time, I would happily die on the sword fighting for more people, more Black people, more BIPOC people to be, in this field. And I will do, and I will fight, and I will say anything because it's not about me. I think this art form is bigger than me, and it's led me to many wonderful things. I used to tell my wife when we were dating, when we first started dating, I was like, I really believe nothing would ever.
That was emphatic.
That was.
Scared the
Um,
dog.
it did. I used to say to her like nothing would come in the way of of what I want to do with this career. I want it, it's going to lead me in so many different ways. And as I've grown, that's changed. And what I'm saying is that now I believe strongly that my goal and my mission is to use my voice, tell my story, because now this is going to open the door for people who look like me or have the similar situation that I have, being white or Black, to go, I can do something different, something better, something unique, something that nobody's ever thought that a person in this situation, can do. And now that has been my mission.
Yeah.
And and as long as somebody gives me a platform or I can create my own damn platform to tell
Yeah.
people, hey, you don't have to be stuck in your situation.
No.
You don't have to let how you were raised, or the things that you saw, lead you down a similar path. You can try your best to change that path. And maybe you don't see it today, but maybe and hopefully somebody or yourself can help you through that. And I want to be that somebody to help somebody see their way through whatever struggles they have going on.
I mean, even conversations like this, man. Like when you're describing your entry point into classical music, we have pretty disparate narratives, but there's a lot of commonality between the way we sort of were brought in. You know, when I came into opera, I didn't know what the hell it was. I didn't even. I mean, I got to college and they were like, "You have to study opera," and I thought I was just going to be in the choir or be a Christian singer or something.
That's so crazy because that's exactly what I thought
Yeah,
too.
I was like, I want to be a country or folk. You remember in choir when they make you go around and they say, what's your major and what do you want to be? And I was like, I'm a vocal performance major and I want to be a folk singer. And everybody was like,
What?
uh. But opera. I sort of got into it later. I had no idea what it was, and the more I did it, and the more I was able to understand not the Renaissance fair like people moving slow and period costume stuff, but more sort of the gritty things. I really related to that stuff, and I was able to. The more I understood it, and the more I saw it as the potential it had to help people and to sort of bring different viewpoints in. You know, I had this burning passion then to want to do my art in a way that was appealing to the community that I came from.
Yeah.
I wanted to take it back and say, look, you can be interested in this too, and it's not something that sissies do, or I mean, the homophobia was so strong in my community that I mean, I've been called homophobic slurs my whole life simply because I liked music. And so
Yeah.
being able to like come from a place where I mean, you and I both growing up, someone would have said they were an opera singer. Certain places that might get your ass kicked. Like it's not nobody cares.
Yeah, I'm so, as a from 15 to 17, those 3 years in high school, I was still living in the projects.
Yeah,
I was living in Holly Cove, where with the drug dealers, the house that we had, they would sell at that corner. We lived on the corner. That's where all the drug deals would go down. So like I'm in my room practicing, and I hear people screaming at me constantly, or like making funny sounds, or laughing,
yeah,
or all those things that like I had to deal with while I was doing all that, getting like shootings.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, my house has been taped off like 2 or 3 times from gun violence. When a drug dealer was getting shot in the arm and running into my house, because my mom at the time was she worked at like a nursing home.
oh
We
right,
had like 10 minutes, or like she'd be like one of them in-home assistants kind
yeah,
of thing. So like watching somebody get nursed with a gunshot wound, in my house while like I'm practicing,
yeah,
and so it's just like these, it was very, very tough. Like, especially now, like people saying, oh, I tell people like, I'm from the streets. I'm educated, but like the first thing, like a lot of people, like a lot of black people or a lot of uneducated people would be like, oh, like you're kind of like a white boy, or you're like, you speak too
yeah,
proper, or you do this, or, you do that. And like these identity crisis, or are you black? Or you married to a white woman, like do you actually support the black cause, or these different dichotomies that we like to pit each other with,
hmm
and and now, but like and I say to that, this my actions will show. So this is why now, like, I work with the Newark Boys Chorus School, helping young minority kids going to art school. I think from grades like 3 to 8. I believe I might have that wrong. But these are kids who are like traveling the world, singing classical music, doing that, and young minority boys. And this is what and this is the path that I take, and helping my community. I know what it's like. That's where I'm from.
yeah.
No matter what I do, no matter how you think I talk, no matter what you say, this is who I am. You can take me out of the projects, take me out of the hood, but that's always going to be in me.
Well, I tell you, one
Uh,
thing we one
and,
thing we know about trauma is that it's contagious, right?
yeah,
It's generational, and but I think what's so inspiring about your story is that you've proven also that kindness and compassion and outreach and help, those things are also contagious. I mean,
oh
just
yeah,
talking to everybody from the governor's school that I've talked to, that the mentorship program that's so strong there, it really, I mean, it's almost a part. You know, it's not something that's even considered extra. It's like assumed that you'll
Mm.
go out there and always bring somebody along with you. And that is, I mean, that is truly, especially now in a time where everything's bad news, bad news, bad news all the time. It's so empowering to hear somebody speak about reaching behind you or reaching down the ladder always, instead
Always.
of looking up and trying to knock somebody else off. You're reaching down and trying to pull somebody up. And that's just so inspiring, man.
I'm a firm believer that there's enough room for all of us.
Yeah.
This world is too big. This art form is too big. There's room for all of us
Yeah.
to have our cake, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
There's enough room for all of us, and and that's a lot of my brother is a strong believer. My baby brother is our story therapist, and now he's got his hands in everything. He's a strong believer in mentorship, and so we always been coming up with ways for years now to give scholarships to help kids, and that's what we've been doing. Like we just gave scholarships because I have a brother who was a football player. Now he's a head football coach in the Virginia school systems. We give scholarships to athletes who might not get a scholarship to go play football, but we're going to college. My big brother was a debater, so in New York City. So we give a scholarship to a debater from his old school, and then we give a scholarship to a governor school kid. And that's what we did. That we started doing that last semester. That's something that we're going to continue. And we just put our money, whatever we have, during this time, even during COVID.
Yeah.
We put our money right there, and we say we're going to give back because everything we've been through, though we still feel like we've been blessed.
Yeah.
We're still here. We're still fighting. We're still trying to find a better way
Mm-hmm.
and a better life. And now all of them have kids. Me and my wife, we're going to be working on some, probably have soon. But we're trying to make a better way for my nieces and nephew, for their kids, and for all the other kids that are coming up behind us, no matter what you want to do in life. And we're doing that.
A lot of folks will wait. They'll say, yeah, I'm going to do all that when I'm like 50, or I'm going to do that when I make it. When I make it, then I'll do all that stuff. And man, it's just really inspiring. I keep saying this because you're just an inspiration.
Oh no, I have not made.
But to
I have
start,
not made it. I'm just starting.
you just start. But
Got out of a young artist program.
when I was your age, dude, I mean, number one, I was so insecure even today, like completely, my self-esteem is about this big. I know people don't believe that, but it's true. And I just never, for me, the idea that that I even had anything to offer was obscene, was absurd. And I look back at the times when I really could have. There's things I did have to offer, and I could have helped in different ways. And I sort of mourn that because I see somebody who's younger than me, who's already engaged in that part of giving back to the community. And you've really convicted me today, man.
Well, listen, man, it's never too late, and you're already doing God's work already. So just keep doing it, and you can do more. And I'm looking forward to doing more too.
Yeah.
My work is no. I'm just getting started. I have these little epiphanies here and there, and I just act on them. My wife is just like, maybe we
Again,
should think,
another one.
think about, and I just go,
Yeah.
and that's just what we do. Like, life is short, and I made it my mission to help. Like people have helped me. God knows why I got all the help I've got. Why I've been through what I've been through, but why these people wanted to help me. So I'm not going to give it a rhyme and reason why I help. I'm just going to, because I know that it worked for me, and it might not work for everybody, but I'm going to try my best to help anybody who's in need, and that's my goal.
Well, I've often found that when I meet people who have an incredible voice, or the kind of voice that really pulls you in, and kind of touches you in sort of that way. It's inexplicable. It's like Quicksilver. You can't really articulate what it is, but there's something in that voice that really tugs on your empathetic heartstrings, you know. And that's one of the things that, you know, I've noticed with you. You know, of course, when I was listening to some recordings and things, and I was like, this guy's got a really special something. His sound is really kind, and there's a warmth and an openness and a vulnerability to the way you sing. And I didn't know any of this other stuff about you. Having heard that, it sort of proves like a theory that I have that, you know, singing really does reveal somebody's insides. It reveals what's inside, and you can hear that all in the voice, and in their way that they would perform, and in the way they tell a story. And what you did just the other day, where you were so, I mean, it's really hard to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
especially, and I'll just say it, you know, in this toxic masculine world
Oh yeah.
that we all live in. It's not okay for men, especially to be classical musicians or singers or choir boys or
Yeah.
whatever, but to be vulnerable and to be open.
Yeah.
And when you were that open that way and revealed that part of yourself to all of us in that room and here on this call today, that it was so consonant with your sound, your openness and your willingness to help and your vulnerability, that it just all made sense to me. It lined up. Like, of course this guy sings like he does. Of course he can tell stories like he does, because not only has he had this tremendous life experience, but he's willing to talk about it, unafraid, unabashed, just willing to be open about it. And I really thank you for coming on and talking to us, Josh. This was truly inspiring, and I know that there are a lot of folks out there listening that they may feel like, maybe I don't have anything to offer somebody, or, well, I mean, I'll let somebody else do it. But I think that just hearing you today, you know, there's it's never too late to start, and it's never too early
Never. You're right.
to pass along the goodness that we have in our art form.
Yeah. Well, you know, I appreciate you having me here. And I just want to tell everybody who's listening that, you know, giving is from the heart. It's not about how much you give. It's about your intention,
Hmm.
what you're giving. Um, I can't imagine that first sandwich that I got because I was sitting there by myself as a 15-year-old kid who didn't have any money to
Yeah.
go to dinner. And what that meant for me, especially as a kid who was having second thoughts about doing opera and why am I here? And like, I don't know anything about this, and I don't know if I even like it.
Yeah.
And to have that kindness coming from these people, and it set me on a path that I can sit here and talk about it, because I could be dead somewhere. I could have really went down the wrong path. And those little acts of kindness, they go a long way. So
Well, I can tell you that our industry is not only thankful to have you in it, but we all are thankful to the folks that helped you along the way and that helped you get here. And you said them here, but you know, I hope they get a chance to watch this and understand just what an impact that they had on your life and the
absolutely.
impact that you're having on all of us.
Well, thank you for having me. I
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
it.
brother.